Yeah, I actually spent most of my adulthood in India, studying and traveling, talking to people, experimenting a lot of things. And this book for um, with my Guruji in Chennai. Um Whenever I got free time, I used to go to Marina Beach and walk. It was then, way back in 1980, I first encountered hijra, a man dressed in saris. Um, Originally, the very first day, I felt very bad, and very shy and embarrassed. But then I thought, oh, here is a new kind of breed. I didn't know much about them, so I went looking for them after that. So I got friendly with them, and later on I started kind of not living, but like every now and then I used to go and stay with them, eat, drink, cook with them. It was particularly the way they spoke, and their stories. So in 1986, when I returned to Sri Lanka, I worked as a assistant stage manager for a theatre production, theatre Julius Caesar by Tony Ranasinghe, very famous actor we had, and I was an assistant stage manager, makeup artist. All three of them were gay, and during rehearsals, um, sharp around 6 o'clock. So we start rehearsal very early. 6, 7, they vanish. So I asked them one day, "Where are you going?" I'll use some Sinhala words. Huh? Okay. So they said, "Api rayata walka me yanawa." So I asked him, "What do you mean walka me yanawa? Oya dawasaka endako apit ekka." So that day I decided, all right, I'm going with them. So the very first day, I went and stood with them like in Regal Theatre, opposite Regal Theatre, there was a bus stand, Moratuwa Panadura bus stand. So I stood there, and they were all three of them dressed in saris. And here I was watching, how they tackle men, how they are eyeballing, and it was like really, really fascinating. Then that's the beginning of that's how I got the interest. And then, of course, I did a lot of research with them. In 1986, the very first day I met them, and very first day I stood with them at the bus stand, I thought, someday I'm going to write a book. So almost 36 years later, here comes.
Thank you so much. It is so wonderful to listening to you, and then after so much, it is in 1986, 1990s, early 90s that you have decided to write something about on this particular issue, and you have finally written a book. First of all, many congratulations and for your success. And we know that this is one of the best-selling book at this moment in the market of Sri Lanka in Sinhala. And so I really would like to congratulate for that. And yeah, so now if you can tell a little bit more, because I am extremely sorry, and it is my that I can't read the whole book because I cannot read Sinhala, but I would like to know a little bit of the content, that how you have presented the entire issue. And
Ankuranji, in this book, this is a story about Arjun. Arjun is a Brahmin boy from Velvetiture, Jaffna, and his father always dreamt of three daughters, but unfortunately his first two kids were sons, and then he stopped a relationship with his own wife. Then, almost after 8 years, something happened, sparked, and they got the the third, again a boy. So this father hated the boy. Father didn't speak to him at all, and he stopped coming home because he was desperately looking for a girl. But so then this boy is looking for father figures because he's missing his father. Um, so he found a lower caste. The caste issue in Jaffna is very intense. He found a lower caste fisherman, and he started loving that man, like, not for anything else, no sex, no nothing. It's just he wanted the love from a father, so a father figure. So when his Arjun's father gets to know this story, um, he wanted to find out whether Arjun is gay, or whether he's a woman or a man. So on that night, his father hit him very hardly. I mean, like very hard, and he chased him out of his village. So then he migrates to Colombo with the fisherman that he befriended, and then his story in Colombo. In my book, the Colombo chapter is actually it's every story in this is true to every letter, because that's the oral history of gay life in this country. That's with Lalit Dharmavardhana. He's the oldest gay activist in this country. He's 76 years old now. Lalit is very sick now. Once Lalit is no more, nobody would know the gay history of this country. So I wanted to write it before Lalit, something happens to Lalit. And he also wanted me to write a book on their lives. So in fact, this book is dedicated to Lalit. Um, it says the dedication reads like this: Oppuwa Sankrantika yana vachane තේරුමවත් නොදත් කාලයක එක්තරා සුවිශේෂී කුල ප්‍රජාවකට මවක් වැනිව දයා කරුණාව පෑ සත්‍යාවතී ලලිත් ධර්මවර්ධන සන්මිතුරාට අප්‍රමාණ සෙනෙහසින්. It says at a time when the word transgender is not even heard, Lalit became a mother to a generation, to a tribe. So this book is dedicated to Lalit. That's the story. Of course, one can ask me, the people who know my story a little bit, whether this is your story. It is part of my story. That's why it was easy for me to write. I wrote it effortlessly because this Arjun, who is constantly looking for his father, is me. I grew up minus, my father was there, but he was not there. So physically he was not there. So we have a huge distance between the two of us. And so I always look for a father figure, and I still do. And of course in India I found a beautiful human being who adopted me, who named me Vishnu Vasu. The other Arjun, there are two Arjuns in this. One is the one who is constantly looking for a father figure. The other one is who loved to get dressed in his mother's clothes, like sarees and wear mukutti and jewelries. That's another friend of mine. He's the sixth in his family, all brothers. So mother started dressing him, frocks and like a girl. Mm-hmm. So she applied lipstick, mm-hmm. and my friend, he's still like that. He lives in England. He's my age. And he is a transgender actually. So it's me and him, our story, our young days story actually.
Yeah, it is really interesting to know that you have also mentioned that earlier, and also I have read some of the reviews that where it is written that some of the part is very poetic. Okay, the expression is poetic, but suddenly it became a very different kind of narrative. And again, it goes back to the poetic. Can you just explain a little bit about it?
The first part of the story, like that is Arjun's life in Valvatiture, up until he came to Colombo, migrated to Colombo, is absolutely poetic. I deliberately used a very poetic language. But when he came to Colombo, he didn't have a job. He couldn't sustain here. So Lalit is taking him to taking him and introducing him to Ashila, who is an activist, uh, labor activist in the free trade zone, FTZ in Katunayaka. So now Arjun is working there in a factory, and he's seen the way factory supervisors, the authorities, the managers, and then people outside the factory, the men, the way men are treating women. Um, it's so sad, like, and in broad daylight, like, while these girls are going home after work, in broad daylight these men go and, like, they squeeze the boobs and they touch them, they touch private parts. How can I use a poetic language to describe all that? All that cruelty I could not describe in a poetic language. So I used a crude language that they usually, used in the free trade zone. But in the end, Arjun is going home to participate in his father's funeral. So I go back to that poetic language again.
So you said that in the here, research in social sciences and more particularly that oral history is considered as one of the very important methodology. So you have used oral history as a methodology to gather the information, to collect the data, and so you have taken the oral history not only in Sri Lanka but also in India of the same community. So, what are the similarities that you found, and what are the differences you found of the transgender and LGBTQ community in both the countries?
You see, Hijra community in India is a very special community. They have their own rituals, from castrating to it's a very unique community. I don't think that kind of community exists anywhere else in the world. But whereas in Sri Lanka, except in Jaffna, um, gays, the gays are not accepted. Gays are not embraced into the society here. They were, up until I would say a decade ago, they were a very closeted community. Uh, Even if people judge you every second, they judge you, like, for example, if someone's voice is not um, manly enough, immediately they said he's gay, right? So I know some of the very say some uh, big time social activists. I know one particularly, and he had a very thin voice, and like people thought, like, he was gay. So it was a gay community in Sri Lanka was very closeted. They came out only in the night. Daytime they never wore saris, and they were subject of police harassment even today. And but whereas in India it's not the case, because in India Hijra community is seen differently. And when Hijra community people go, like, they clap, like, three times they clap, like, with open palms like this. They clap and they can clap. The same clap is used to bless as well as curse. So you clap like this. මෙහෙම ඔළුවට උඩින් මෙහෙම අත් දෙක තියලා ක්ලැප් කරපුවාම ඒක බ්ලෙසින් එකක්. හැබැයි බැරි වෙලාවත් මෙහෙම සාරිය උස්සලා ක්ලැප් කරොත් ඒක curse ekak. So they raise their gown or the sari and then they clap, but that's a curse. So, and also when a child is born in India, hijras are called to bless. And in India, hijras are not seen as prostitutes. They are like a different special community. But of course, and once again in Hijra, there is a hierarchy. There is Nani. Nani is the head of the Hijra. And then there are uh, gurus and chelas. Chela means the student. So each guru has 9 to about 10-15 chelas, uh, depending. Each area, things depend. And also in India, now, when you're much very beautiful, you do sex work, right? And when you grow old, you do housework. When you get punished, you have to go and beg. So all those hijras whom you see on the road begging are the punished lot. So it can go on and on and on because it's a major subculture. But in Jaffna, it's the different. There is a different because they were seen as Ardhanarishwara. Shiva is a Ardhanarishwara. Hindu mythology, Hindus believe that there is a man in every woman and a woman in every man, right? And our body is divided into two parts. Left side is called the Ida, right side is Pingala. Ida belongs to the sun, that is the Nari Shakti. Pingala belongs to Shiva. Uh, Ida belongs to the moon, Pingala belongs to the sun. Pingala belongs to Shiva. So it's Parvati and Shiva both living in your body. So Ardhanarishwara means gay or transgender means that you're closer to God. That's a major difference.
Right, right, yeah. So yes, in nowadays in India also, like in it is a kind of not a law, I think, but mandatorily in all the forms also it is written like the sex, male, female, third gender. So it's the option is everywhere that we have noticed, and as you have said that we have also seen it is a culture to basically to bless the newborn babies in India. They are always invited. Uh, again, we will come to your book, but before that, I would like to ask you about your earlier book, Simple Simon. So, what was the topic of that book? And
It's a funny book. Actually, Simple Simon, I spent 3 years when I first went to India after studying broadcast journalism. When I met my father, my Indian father there, he lived in Chennai, so I was in Bangalore. I migrated to Chennai. In Chennai, one day I saw beautiful band, the Shakti band, with John McLaughlin, L. Shankar, Zakir Hussain, and Vikku Vinakram on stage. I was sitting in the auditorium with my appa. I said, Appa, I want to study that instrument. What is the instrument? Gadam, made of clay pot. So my father being the then president of the Music Academy, president of the Music Academy is more powerful than the chief minister of Chennai. I mean, that's how powerful that character is. So then my father introduced me to Guruji. The day he first saw me, met me, and he looked at my hands, my palms, he touched my palms, and he took a book and went through it, did some calculations. With a broad smile on his face, he asked my father, can he stay with me for 1,000 days and do Gurukula Vasam? I didn't know the head or tail of what Gurukula Vasam was then. I was 20 years old. Then my father said yes. So ever since I lived with my Guruji for 1,000 days, doing his housework, washing his clothes, packing his bags to go on tours. Yeah, I was a Shravaka actually. Shravaka in a Gurukula, I mean, in any institution, when you go, you're a student. Uh, but you go to Gurukula, you become a disciple. The difference between the student and the disciple, or the Shishyan and Shravaka, Shishya has the right to note down. You can take notes, you can write every tala that you play, that you learn. But a Shravaka, you have to listen and learn. I never wrote, I mean, to date, like, I haven't written any of the talas, the complicated talas in Chennai, I mean, the Carnatic music. I have never written any of them. It's all in my mind. So, Shravaka, you by heart everything. Uh, so, this Simple Simon book is about my study with my Guruji, not just my only studying with Guruji, but like how he opened my mind, my soul, to a whole new gamut of life. Like, it was a new life for me. One day Guruji told me, there is a M.F. Hussain exhibition, go and see. I did not know who M.F. Hussain was. And I asked my Guruji's son, like, Uma Shankar, do you know M.F. Hussain? Who M.F. Hussain is? Then he gave me a Hindu paper article. So I read, and I went to M.F. Hussein's painting exhibition. I didn't understand anything about modern art, and I still don't understand, and I don't like modern art to begin with. And next day, Guruji asked me, what is this? What's your favorite painting there? I said, so I explained to him, it's big, our country, India, and there was a girl in the center, all red, with a reddish color gradings. So play. He said, Vasipa. I said, how to play now? In India, when you do Gurukula Vasam, you don't ask questions from your Guru, and you just listen. I didn't know how to translate, or how to transform my ideas, like, what I saw into music. But then Guruji played. When he said red, so he played some very, very Sankirna. Our 9 beats is Sankirna Talam, a very complicated rhythm cycle, 9 beats. So he played, and he said, this is every color has a particular mood. So you should learn the mood. So my book consists of all those stories, and how I went looking for other music styles, say for example Parai Melam, the funeral drumming, like that. So my travels across India, learning differently.
It is another very interesting book, of course, that I request you that you should translate both the books into English. Then I think it will be more acceptable. Not acceptable means it will be more readable by the people in India as well, and also it should be translated into many other languages also. And it is beautiful to hear that he liked, whether I don't know whether you liked or not, but Guru Sishya Parampara is a very ancient parampara, ancient tradition that we have in India, that thousands and thousands of years. And those, so basically, and it is another very interesting fact that how you can translate one from one visual art to a performing art, okay, and translating from one particular artistic expression of aesthetic expression into another expression. So it is definitely a very challenging task, that but it is for the first time that I was also started thinking that yes, it is true that every color has its own mood. Okay, every color has its own emotion.
Yes.
Every color has its different. As I would like to in this conversation only. Last year, one of my short story was published, and the title is that it is I have written in Assamese called Dinor Rong Rongor Din. means color of the day and day's color. Okay, so it is on. Of course, it is also there are a lot of means discussions on colors, as I mentioned. Yeah, it is another. I hope that another beautiful book. And what about that? Have you have you means decided to translate these books into English or?
This book, Sari and the Pupirimi, is being translated now.
Okay.
Translated by Ashanti. She won the Best Translation Award at Vidarshana Book Awards this year. Simple Simon, I haven't thought about it now since you see the importance of it. Like, I better do that. I one thing, and when you study in a Gurukula, you not only study music but various other, not just art forms. I was sent to Ayurvedic practitioner to study Ayurveda, and the yoga practitioner to study yoga. Only after that study I realized that there is connection with the color connection because there are 7 major chakras in your body, starting from Muladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipuri, Anahata, Vishuddhi, Ajna and Sahasra. Each chakra has a color. Muladhara chakra basically, I mean the basic chakra we call it, is red, yellow and orange. So each color has different properties. What does that color do in different situations? Like that, there's so much I learned during my 3 years, and that learning process pushed me to go meet different people and learn from them. It's our Guruji mentioned it as he named it active learning. He said classroom learning is passive learning, so you must to learn actively always.
Yeah, so of course that you have learned not only the music but at the same time about other aesthetics and as well as Ayurveda and yoga, as you have mentioned. So after your Guru Sisya Parampara of 1,000 days, have you shifted to Kerala for Kalamandalam or?
During my stay, Guruji sent me to different gurus to study different percussion instruments. After I finished my stay with my Guruji, first thing he did, he sent me to Africa, to Nigeria, to study African percussion. And then later on, he said, it's best that you go to Kerala Kalamandalam. And during my stay also, I went to Kerala Kalamandalam. But later on, he said, it's best that you go and study Panchavadyam. Panchavadyam is similar to Panchaturya Nada in Sri Lanka. So I studied Panchavadyam at Kerala Kalamandalam. And that was ICCR scholarship, of course. And we have our doctor, my best friend and brother, Dr. Ravi Bandhu Vidyapati. He studied at Kerala Kalamandalam from Guru Gopinath, right? Ramadas Ashram. So Kalamandalam was fascinating, and I remember when I went to Kalamandalam, my Guruji didn't even give any letter, nothing. I just went to Kalamandalam. He said, just go and meet Sridharan Nambis and Ashan. So I didn't know head or tail of what to do, how to go, where to go. So somehow I reached Kalamandalam. I went to the office and I said, I was sent by Guru Vikku Vinakram and I'm supposed to meet Nambi Sashan. So they sent me to Nambi Sashan's class and he welcomed me. He said, I said, I'm Guruji's disciple. All right, you come. He was in a varsity and the entire Kalamandalam was dressed in, men were dressed in vesties and bare body. So I felt very out of place, very embarrassing to walk with my trousers and a shirt on. So he took me to the office. then took me to the registrar. He wrote my name and my address, blah, 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 and said, all right, now you're a Kalamandalam student. So that's how these art forms survive in India. They don't ask whether you have done your O level, how many subjects you passed, and nothing like that. I mean, you have talent, you are accepted, you welcome to the institute. This is why I say, like, I love that country.
So then, do you continue your musical life also now, or because I know that you were a very popular musician, and I don't know whether you have you means.
I stopped.
Okay.
24 years ago, I stopped.
Is there any particular reason for us?
Yes, I wanted a different life. I thought, like, the music is an attachment. So I wanted a life minus attachments.
Okay.
So I gave up music, and then for some time, I was filmmaker, and I thought this is also attachment. So slowly I shred all my attachments, and now I live a very detached, ascetic kind of a life. Now I'm only a writer. I only engage in writing. Um, that's one attachment that I'm unable to.
Don't you want to play again sometime? That
If Ravi asked me to play with him, like only,
only,
not
then only.
otherwise.
Otherwise, not. Okay, so
Only.
we will have definitely another program with Dr. Ravi Bandhu Bijapati and Vishnu Vasu sometime near future. Yes. Thank you so much. And then, yeah, we all are looking forward to this. And coming back again to the book, that I would like to hear some of the experiences that you have found after publication of this book. That today also you
Yeah.
signed in the book fair, and also you definitely you communicated, definitely you interacted with your readers about the feedback, etc. And so, can you just share with
Yeah,
us?
feedbacks are absolutely beautiful. And since this book was published, I received, I think about 3 months, oh no, about 2 months after book was published, HR manager of a very popular, famous garment factory in Katunayaka called me and asked me, where did you find this information? This information is old. I said, of course, this story is 2012. So I have written details, how you people treated them in 2012. And I also know that things haven't changed much. Uh, so then he said, no, your book has sparked, some, and we have now, in our factory, we have dedicated washroom for transgender people. So that's, after that, a couple of other factories followed the same. And lot of, sometimes a couple of doctors told me, like, I have changed my way of looking at the transgender and gay people. So many people told me. The peak of all that is today. This morning, there was a signing event of my book at Book Fair, Sarasavi. About 50-year-old, maybe, mother and father came to me, and they held my hand, looked straight into my eyes, and said, Sir, we read your book, both of us read your book. Now we have realized that our son is in a kind of a transition, and we are going to accept him as who he is. And but first we want to give this book to him and ask him to read it and tell him, look, you are our son, you are who you are, you have all the right to be who you are, act the way you like. And so please sign this book. Our son's name is Arvind, and please write his name, and this is the gift that we are going to offer to him, with the message that we are going to embrace you into the family with no difference. I cried there because this is exactly what I wanted with this book, like, for people to think differently and act differently, not look at transgenders or gays, through a different window. I mean, they are part of our society. No? Because I have gone through enough and more insults, and because I'm not married, so people think I'm gay, and like, they sometimes spread stories, sometimes write in Facebook and so on. So I know what it is, like, so uh, it's a beautiful day today, like, for me in my life. It's I don't care now whether they sell this book, sell more copies or not. Of course, this tomorrow they will release the 5th edition of the book within 8 months. So that's the peak. That's today is the peak of this book's career, not mine.
Oh, it is so touching stories, and it is somewhere that you can feel the success of a writer. And my last question before going to the audience, that of course I understand that many people, many authors do not want to disclose about their future plan, but still I am asking you that what is your next project? If you
No,
do
no,
not want to disclose, then
no,
it
no,
is not.
I will love to. I mean, there is nothing. I'm like a book, like an open book. So, my next book I'm writing. My next book is titled Made in India. It's about my travels in India. It's a funny book, and in that book, I'm laughing at myself most of the time. Say, for example, even though it's made in India, it's in Sinhala once again. Say, for example, there is a character called Malavika in that. Malavika is here actually today, somewhere, sitting somewhere. Malavika, ඒ තියෙනවා මෙහෙම දැන් මාලවිකාගේ සීයා උග්‍ර ගාන්ධිවාදියා. එයාගේ සීයා තමයි ගාන්ධිට නිදහස් සටනට සල්ලි දීලා තියෙන්නේ. මාලවිකා හිතන්නේ අපරාධ කියලා. ඒ මොනවා හිතුවත් එයා එයාගේ සීයාට විරුද්ධව කට ඇරලා වචනයක් කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ කුල සම්ප්‍රදාය ඒ තරම්ම අයෝමයි. දැන් ඉතින් දැන් මෙහෙම පොත්වල මෙව්වා ලිව්වට මමත් අපේ අප්පා ඉන්න කාලේ කෙල හොල්ලලා නෑනේ ගාන්ධිට විරුද්ධව. And then I write to myself, නේ විෂ්ණුගේ කයිය විතරයි බං. And there are a lot of passages like, like that. And then my other book is actually, I'm supposed to, planning to leave as soon as I find some funding, going back to India. I'm going to live with the Hijra community. I'm going to live in Kamatipura, particularly in Mumbai, the red light district, and also in Calcutta and Sivadasipura in Varanasi. I want to highlight people who adopt transgenders who adopt children. So my book is titled Kama Sutra, and it's this boy who is growing up in a Mumbai brothel. He's writing his experiences, what he has seen, because I have already associated, these people. The children have told me, like, sometimes our mother pull us, like, you said, go under the bed and for her to have sex with a man, like, to earn a few bucks. So those stories, like, so how men treat men, how cruelly men treat women. And this boy is writing, he wants men to look at women in a different light, like, in a very romantic way. Love is not just sex. That's basically the book is, but then it's weaved through lots of stories.
All the very best from our side that for Made in India and Kama Sutra, both the books. And we are looking forward to read the books, not only in Sinhala but also in different other languages. And I will be really happy that if it can be translated into English and also translated into, as you know, that India is a multilingual country, and it like in different other, we have 22 official languages, constitutionally recognized languages apart from Hindi and English. So, and also many other dialects and different other languages also.